Round 4 of the 2022 Euroformula Open season here at Spa-Francorchamps, the iconic Belgian facility where we have seen a great many exciting battles in this series in years gone by. And this year we're expecting much of the same. It's looking very competitive here this weekend. The Van Amersfoort racing cars seem to be hooked up nicely. They'll be taking the challenge to the drivers of Moto Park and Crypto Tower. Of course, at the top of the championship, it's been all about two men, Oliver Goethe and Christian Mansell. Goethe currently our championship leader by 35 points. And Christian Mansell will be looking to reduce that deficit here this weekend. You see there two of the Van Amersfoort cars on the circuit. Philippe Ugran there leading the number 25 car. That is Sebastian Ogaard. So two of the three Van Amersfoort cars, and the third of them is slightly different this weekend. It's now the number 88 car. It's now piloted by the returning Filip Kaminiarz, and the Polish driver will be looking to resume his Euroformula Open career with a good performance. I'd say his best, most consistent weekend of the 2021 season came here at Spa. He did score a podium at Monza, but his best overall weekend, I'd say, was Spa last year. So I'm sure Philip will be keen to show what he is capable of in his first race outing in 8 months. So let's keep an eye on Philip. This, though, is going to be a very interesting session. We saw it yesterday in free practice, that the times looked very close indeed, and it was a very different order in both of the free practices as well. So George, it bodes well for a very exciting qualifying session.
It does, and we're at Spa, Adam. What a place to be, certainly here for a Euroformula event, and single seat is synonymous with a track such as this. And you have to say, this man, Philippe Ugran, will be looking to continue the form that he's been in practice all weekend. P3 in both FP1 and FP2, so looking very strong indeed. He'll look to surely move further than that, heading into qualifying and obviously into the race as well. So plenty to offer here in this session. Obviously, if you look at the podiums, obviously going off what you were saying about Oliver Goethe and Christian Mansell, that has been the story so far. Oliver Goethe, 7 podiums in 8 races. What a stat that really is. Christian Mansell, 6 out of 8. They're so closely knitted together here, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely they are. I mean, Goethe has had some sensational kind of damage limitation, I would say, this year. At Estoril, his starts were not good at all, but each time he would get his elbows out, he would go racing and he'd salvage the results. At Po, he had a very difficult run to turn 2, ran the car wide, ended up down outside of the top 5, I think, for a moment in time. But he managed to recover it to a podium eventually there as well in the 79th running of the Po Grand Prix last month. Here at Spa, we can expect more of the same form, but of course Spa is a circuit where a lot of these drivers have actually, well, a couple of these drivers at least, have been before. We mentioned the returning Filip Kaminiarz. We've also, of course, got the likes of Christian Mansell and Josh Mason, who have both raced this car at this track before. For Christian Mansell, this circuit marked his Euroformula Open debut, and he was very potent on that first ever outing in the car in the championship. Let's see what he can do up against his championship adversary and the rest of the field in this qualifying session.
Absolutely, I'm sure we'll all be enlightened as to what certainly is going to be in store for us this session. Currently Simonazzi on top order for now. They're going to be heading out on their official runs now very, very shortly. And certainly as the time whittles on, the track will get hotter, allowing these drivers to certainly nestle in some quicker laps. As you can now see the cameras pan across Blanchimont. And Philippe Ugran, as I said earlier on, showing some really good pace in FP1 and FP2. So very good positive signs for Van Amersfoort coming out of Paul Ricard, which wasn't necessarily going the way they would have liked, but they've come here this weekend and they're looking certainly in a lot better vein of form. Certainly this time as Sebastian Ogaard goes, well, he was first fastest. Philippe Ugran has just stole that motif off him now. Purple in all 3 sectors to get us firmly underway. And I'm sure we'll see many, many more come along through, of course. Championship leader Ollie Goethe, just to say, stands with 4 wins this season. 1 at Estoril, 1 at Po, 2 at Paul Ricard. I'm sure he'd love to notch one here at Spa-Francorchamps.
It would be quite the streak, wouldn't it, if he can do it? We've seen some very winning seasons out of drivers before. I'm going to have to test my memory here because I don't have the note immediately in front of me. I believe all but 2 races in 2018 were won by one Felipe Drugovich here in Euroformula Open. I believe it might have been a win at each of the circuits. So we'll have to see if Oliver Goethe can do the same in terms of having an 100% record of winning at each circuit in this 2022 season. Certainly he's going to have competition here at Spa. The likes of Philippe Ugran showing that there are arguably even more competitive cars here today. He was telling me earlier on, actually, he was making a very pronounced point of it, that he reckons they've got more straight line speed out of the HWA engine this weekend. The HWA engine is one of the 2 motors we see here in Euroformula Open, the other one being the Spieth engine, and that is what's favoured by Motorpark and Crypto Tower. The HWA engine has its roots as a Mercedes Formula 3 power plant, and the Spieth VW. So 2 very, very well-versed racing engine builders, and that was a bit of a push too far, wasn't it, there from Philippe Ugran, but still purple, even with the rally crossing. Certainly, if he does improve this lap, very well done, but we'll know, based on what we just saw, that the best is yet to come out of Philippe Ugran.
We certainly do, and as I said earlier on, showing all kinds of pace in practice, and once again notching together 2 purple sectors despite the vergence onto the gravel, but now making his way into the bus stop chicane now. He'll attack this one, certainly, and register yet another time. Very colourful helmets indeed, a bit of purple and green as he now makes his way up towards the line. Philippe Ugran, what's this improvement going to be? It's going to be a 2:12, 1:21. And that is just under 7.5 tenths difference. A little lock-up, though, heading through to La Source. He is keen as mustard to fire this at the top.
Keen as mustard, interesting. Okay, Philippe Ugran coming out of what was Stavelot. I have to try and program that out of myself. These days it's campus. Just getting onto the gravel trap and pressing on now in that number 14 car. We saw kind of mid-211s as the fastest times in practice yesterday, first free practice. In the hotter conditions of FP2, we didn't see anyone go below a 211. Alex Garcia, though, has just, didn't see anyone go below a 212. Alex Garcia, though, has just gone below a 212 with a 211.959. So Garcia goes top, the young Mexican racer who was taking an ice bath yesterday. Such were the hot conditions, and it seems as though everybody's primed to do that in today's sweltering weather here at Spa. You can see there the rear wing on that car. Certainly they are running low downforce here at Spa. Yes, this middle sector, as Alex Garcia really pushed the limits. Kind of a good illustration of what I was about to say. They kind of sacrifice the grip at sector 2 to make sure they've got all of the speed heading up the hill through Blanchemont towards the bus stop, and then subsequently from La Source to Le Combe. They run low downforce here at Spa just to try and get the most out of those straight line sections, but it does mean, as we just saw, that certain bits of sector 2 are maybe a little bit edge of seat.
And you can say that it's going to demand a lot more of the drivers. They're going to need to be more prepared heading into some of these corners. Alex Garcia, though, a very nervy moment heading around the Jackie X corner. Could have gone all perilous for him, but he did well to control it. We saw something similar from Philippe Ugran earlier on as well, as we're now watching them make their way through this next left-hander. And certainly Alex Garcia, currently purple in the first sector, would have no doubt lost a little bit of time in sector 2 after that little trip towards the gravel, but very well held as he now heads in towards bus stop. Of course, heading through now turns 18 and 19. 10 right-hand corners here at Spa, 9 left-hand ones as well as he now bails into the pit lane. Alex Garcia, he will not set a lap time this time, but he is still on top order.
Really interesting there that aside from this man Alex Garcia, all of the drivers from both Motorpark and Crypto Tower have kept their powder dry. Josh Mason, Vladislav Lomko, Christian Mansell, Frederick Lubin, Oliver Goethe, all yet to head out onto the circuit at this stage. Alex Garcia, the only one seemingly who wanted 2 runs and maybe a few more bites of the cherry. Francesco Simonazzi, personal best first sector right, a bit of curb there going into the Jackie X corner, can unsettle the car, but he managed it well. Down towards Puig on he comes in the 84 BVM racing car again. He's aggressive on those outside curves on turn-in, and that's certainly an interesting line that he is taking. The car almost airborne at times, clattering over those curves on the entrance to the corner. Simonazzi pressing on. Let's see what this middle sector can look like then for Francesco, the Italian driver. We'll just see that sector split come through now, and it's a second off the fastest time. It's a little off his own personal best, but we'll see if he can improve. He's currently fourth fastest on a 2:13.098. If he can find another 2 1/3 tenths of a second, practically a quarter of a second, he can unseat Sebastian Ogard as third fastest in the session at this stage. But there is still a long way to go, and a good few drivers we are yet to see on the circuit. Simonazzi, though, bails on the lap. Into pit lane he goes in the 84 BVM car. The returning Philippe Caminias, I think he'll be taking every extra ounce of lap time he can get here out on the circuit, because, of course, he has been away for a while from not just Euroformula Open, but racing in general. He's returning kind of filling in for Nicola Marinangeli, at least for this weekend. I believe Marinangeli carrying a bit of an injury at the moment, and Caminias trying to press on, but this looks to me like it could be an in-lap. Certainly made a mistake or backed off in the middle sector. We'll have to see whether or not he comes in. Indeed he does. That means that everyone is in the pit lane at the moment, and we're still yet to see 5 drivers out there on the circuit. The likes of Mason, Lomko, Mansell, Lubin and Goethe, all yet to set a time, all yet to get out on the circuit. So they're going to be doing a one-run strategy here in this qualifying, and that's certainly going to be intriguing. I think the final 10 minutes of this quali session are going to be grandstand viewing. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the weather has been so hot across the weekend. 30 degrees we registered yesterday, which was, I mean, we walked the track yesterday in it. It was sweltering. So naturally, these drivers now have got another test to handle. They've got to try and manage the tyres, obviously make sure they're up to temps, but at the same time, you don't want them too hot, because that can land you in deep trouble. And interesting to see that we got a bit of a split grid situation. Some of them deciding to leave their laps to the last minute, with others already registering the initial laps. Josh Mason, Vladislav Lomko, Christian Mansell, Frederick Lubin and Ollie Goethe not deciding to go out in the early stages. We've still got 12 minutes still to go within the 12 minute now. There's Ollie Goethe's car sat there. The Dane, currently the championship leader, racing for another positive result. Should he be able to hook it up very much like he did in FP1, where he topped the billing in that session as well, just ahead of his contender, Christian Mansell, who was in second in FP1, and indeed second in the championship, as we're now seeing the Van Amersfoort conglomerate, who is certainly looking for an improved outing this weekend, and showing it as well, given the fact that Philip Ugram was showing some pace in free practice. But it's certainly a lot to look forward to here at Spa. So much variation, anything's possible. I'm ready for it, Adam. Yeah, very excited to see what happens in these final moments of the session, these final 10 minutes or so. You see there, the Motor Park and Crypto Tower teams are getting their cars ready to go. It won't be long before they head out onto the circuit. The 78 car, I believe that is, just being fired up. Freddie Lubin at the wheel of that 78 machine. Freddie had a really positive weekend at Estoril. The month of May as a whole was a bit of a struggle for him in France, both at Pau and Paul Ricard, and he's looking to re-establish his form this season at Spa-Francorchamps, a circuit he has not raced at previously, but he said he went out onto the circuit and he loved it immediately, and he was fastest in FP2 as well. So let's see if Freddie Lubin can improve upon what we've already seen from him. The Van Amersfoort drivers are back out onto the circuit, at least 2 of them are. Ugran and Ogard back out onto the track, as is Francesco Simonazzi in the BVM racing entry. There you see those 3 cars out on the circuit, heading up the long Kemmel Straight. It's so long that when you stand there at the kink coming out of Radion, it's actually a mirage before you get to Le Combe. Such is the length of that straight. It really is a a circuit that doesn't reveal its true scale until you see it up close and personal. It is what a fabulous facility, of course. Half the length of what it used to be, and a very different character of circuit from what we saw up until the early 1970s, but it is still an iconic, famous, fabulous venue where all of these young drivers want to score a positive result.
Yeah, absolutely. Sensational track. And we did look at it, and obviously looking up to the long stretch on Kemmel, leading up towards Les Combes. You could just see the heat just sort of raising itself off the tarmac. It was such a lovely thing to see, that's for sure. And as you can now see, they're making their way through the middle sector. Very soon they'll be commencing Sector 3 as well on their out laps. And Van Amersfoort, as you can see, all nip and tuck together, closely formed together, ready to start their fast laps. And certainly it's a good opportunity for them to strike it in position on this field. Of course, they're no strangers to race wins. Sebastian Ogier has won this season. He won at Estoril, and that was their first win so far, and their only win so far as well. But no doubt, I'm sure they'll be able to crunch some numbers this time. Sebastian Ogier actually nestling 2 podiums, as well as Philippe Eugran nestling 1 as well. So they come in with still quite a bit of form heading into the weekend, as we now watch the cars all make their way out and about. And as we can already see, the bottom 5 have actually made their way out onto the track now. So in come the laps now, their first laps of the session as well. It's going to be a bit of a pressure cooker situation for them, leaving it to the last minute, Adam.
Yeah, you don't want to make any errors. By the time, I mean, the likes of Mason, Lubin, Goethe still haven't gone out there. By the time they do, they're going to have 2 or 3 flying laps, best case scenario. And if you throw it at a gravel trap, that's going to be extremely costly. Here is Christian Mansell then in the number 71 car. He will be looking for another win. He got his 2nd win of the season last time at Paul Ricard after a win at Estoril, our season opening weekend. Fascinating study in contrast that we have in terms of the venues we visit here across this season. Of course, we went to the famous Pau Street circuit last month, 2.7 k's, about 1.7 miles in length. Now we've got this leviathan of a circuit at 4.35 miles, just over 7 kilometres in length. 2 very different circuits forming the part of our 9-round calendar here in Euroformula Open. Iconic facilities such as Imola, Monza, Barcelona, all yet to come, and Hungaroring next month as well. But there's still 3 races to come here at Spa. This qualifying session ongoing. The Van Amersfoort drivers are on a fast lap once again, and Philippe Eugran not set a PB in the first sector, but he's still pressing on, so we'll see what his 2nd sector split looks like. Sebastian Ogier behind actually did set a personal best first sector this time by, so keep an eye on the number 25 car. I think a little bit of a tow up the Kemmel straight from Philippe Eugran has done him a lot of good. Of course, Eugran's time included an excursion there on the exit of Stabilo/Campus. So let's see if this lap is an improvement by virtue of just not making that error. Doesn't look like that much of a push lap from Philippe, though. It looks like he's kind of running at not quite full pace. Ogier, though, still getting that tow. Wasn't that fast in the 2nd sector, though. I'm not sure either of these drivers are going to improve, although let's keep an eye on Ogier, because he now runs through the final chicane. And it was actually a purple sector as well out of Ogier, according to the graphics you see on screen. Is it an improvement, though? The answer is no. Francesco Simonetti moves himself up to 3rd place on a 2:12.612. However, the likes of Christian Mansell and Vladislav Lomko are now on their first flying laps. Meanwhile, everyone is now out on circuit. Josh Mason, Frederick Lubin and Oliver Goethe have all now ventured onto the track. So these final 5 minutes are going to make for very intriguing viewing. Eugran, I think, will be wanting to find a push lap very shortly because he will want to establish himself, if not on the front row, then certainly on the front 2 rows. We know he's got the pace for it. He was 3rd place in both 3 practices yesterday, so he's more than capable. The Van Amersfoort Racing car, the package of the Dallara with the HWA chassis, HWA engine, does seem to be potent around this circuit. Already 1/4 of a second purple on Alex Garcia's fastest time of the session, is Philipp Ugran. So through Jackie Corner he goes. Saw him take a couple of stabs at getting turned into the apex there. So he's clearly pushing on. And let's see whether this lap is quick. It did sound like there might have been a slower car heading through Pouhon, but it doesn't appear that anyone is in the way. Or saying that, there are a couple of stragglers there. That was Vladislav Lomko along with Philipp Kaminiaz there. But both drivers staying well out of the way. Ugran missing the apex there at the first of the two Fania bends. Let's see whether or not the number 14 car is still purple when they go through the Paul-Frere curve and through the second sector split. He is. He's half a second purple. Of course, this time no gravel trapping on that occasion as well. So surely the time will improve. Surely the final sector will be a bit quicker as well. And he's got a tow from Sebastian Ogard. Let's see what happens here. I think they are kind of working together. So Sebastian Ogard, I expect, is now going to allow Philipp Ugran through. Yes, he does, in parallel with what we saw a lap ago from the pair of them. And Ugran could be about to establish himself at the top of the timing screen with 3 minutes and 45 seconds of the session left to run. Ugran coming across the line. It's a 2:11.161. Philipp Ugran sets the new benchmark. Let's see what everyone else can do.
Yeah, clutch finale now. This is the time for it. Philipp Ugran, though, nestling in a very nice time at 2:11.161 to beat right now. And certainly that will be a tough time to beat. That is for sure, though. Plenty of cars that have yet to register. I would imagine their fastest laps. Oliver Goethe is still there in 10th place, and he's going to look to improve. He's gone to a 39.3 in the first sector, so he's not far off the time of Philipp Ugran. A couple of tenths is all that separates the pair in that initial burst. So heading into the middle sector, it'll be intriguing to see what Goethe can do as we're now watching them make their way through the next right-hander, though take nothing away from Philipp Ugran. He's been showing the pace all weekend, and certainly in FP1 and FP2, third place in both, now stands on P1, top order for Van Amersfoort.
Also the fastest time we've seen all weekend, so Philipp Ugran definitely with a very, very good lap there, and it's going to be difficult for anyone to beat him, although Oliver Goethe is on a mission at the moment. He's purple in the second sector. Goethe currently running through the final sector in the 96 car. Will our championship leader find himself on the top of the pile in this qualifying session? He runs around the bus stop chicane out onto the main straight. He's going to get 2 more laps because he crosses the line with about 2 minutes and 17 seconds left to go. He might not need them though, because a 2:10.880 is his first flying lap of the session. Oliver Goethe goes top. Christian Mansell has just gone third fastest as well with a 2:11.691. But Goethe was the last man out of the pit lane, and immediately he goes top.
Sensing a real dramatic finale here in qualifying, certainly, as Oliver Goethe now tops the building. We've got yellow flag at turn 13, folks. Have to find out what has happened here, but certainly Oliver Goethe, that's your latest update, currently on pole position. Red flag. So we've got a red flag after that incident, so we will keep you updated as to what's going on. But as things stand, Oliver Goethe in P1, and there is a car in the gravel trap, and that's just after turn 13, heading around Les Farniers corner. So
that was one of the cars out of Motor Park. Session will not be resumed. I think that may have either been Lubin or who was that then? Let's see. It was Lomko, Vladislav Lomko, it was that made the error. Session will not be resumed. So that's, I think, unfortunate if you're the likes of Freddie Lubin. I mean, look at Lubin's times. He was not yet on a quick lap. His fastest time of the session at 2:17.3 for both Lubin, Mason and Lomko himself. That mistake has proven extremely costly. 3 of the drivers out of the kind of Motor Park Crypto Tower stable, they kind of support each other here in the paddock. 3 of the drivers there have all been hampered by that high-risk, high-reward strategy of waiting until the final moments of the session to set the fast laps.
Yeah, we did speak about that pressure cooker situation, heading out for your final run and leaving it to the last minute, and that could be the end result of that. Certainly for Vladislav Lomko, has actually come into this weekend in a good, rich vein of form, because, of course, 6 podiums, actually level with Christian Mansell on number of podiums secured this season. Lomko actually also securing the Grand Prix de Pau victory as well this season as well, so he's got a lot of pedigree. and is having a wonderful rookie season, but I'm sure he will be less than impressed with what has just happened here at Spa.
Undoubtedly, and of course this affects their entire weekend, because those grid positions will also factor in not just in the first race but also the third race of the weekend. Here then are the times at the end of that session. Oliver Goethe fastest by just under 0.3 of a second. Philipp Ugran joining him on the front row of the grid for Van Amersfoort Racing. Christian Mansell in third position there, the Australian driver for Crypto Tower Racing Team. Alex Garcia with his strongest qualifying session of the season so far, taking fourth place. Francesco Simonazzi fifth. Sebastian Ogard in sixth place, and Philip Cominiars returning to the series seventh fastest. Freddie Lubin, Josh Mason and Vladislav Lomko rounding out the top 10, and all three of them are going to be aggrieved with the fact that that session was red flagged when it was, because all three of them were on push laps. All three of them were on their first push laps, and unfortunately for Vladislav Lomko, it was a push too far, a spin coming out of turn 13, the second element of Fania, and well, sometimes it's those finest of margins that determine whether you succeed or you fail. And unfortunately, on that occasion, our Pau Grand Prix winner from earlier this season pushed it a little bit too far. He's been one of the more consistent drivers of the season so far. Certainly an uncharacteristic mistake out of Vladislav Lomko, but it came at a very, very difficult time for himself and some of his garage mates.
Yeah, definitely, and you just saw there, Alex Garcia delighted with the end result, obviously securing his position on the second row of the grid. There is Ollie Goethe, no doubt happy with his performance as well, continuing his great run, obviously securing yet another pole position as well. And he'll need to make sure that those great starts continue. Obviously, he was intent on working on those after the start of the season. We actually managed to speak to Stuart Hall, and he insisted that Ollie Goethe must improve those starts, and he certainly has done since then. So let's see if that continues here at Spa-Francorchamps. But there you can see the smile on his face. He is your man on pole. There's Christian Mansell as well. Third place he managed to get in the end. It got real nip and tuck towards the end, but he pulled it off. There you can see Philip Ugran, the man we thought who would be fastest towards the end, but the clutch finale from Goethe usurped that. The Romanian, no doubt, will be happy with his performance, though. Van Amersfoort very keen to show their pace all weekend long, but Ollie Goethe, the man with the fastest lap, the Great Dane, he's on top again.
Oliver Goethe in pole again, but here at Spa has always a special taste.
Yeah, it's very special. I mean, it's probably one of my favorite tracks, and so far it's been going really well. That quali was very difficult, of course, only doing one run. There was the pressure to deliver just with one lap, and I did it, so that's a real positive, and I'm really happy with my lap, for sure.
But it was a good close fight.
Yeah, it was close. Obviously, those are red flags, so I think most people would have improved in the second push lap if there wasn't a red flag. But of course, there's always that risk of there being a red flag. So I had to do a good first push lap, which is what happened. And yeah, I'm really happy.
And this afternoon, it's going to be very hot.
Yeah, it's going to be hot. It's going to be a good race, I think. Obviously, Spa, starting from P1 is very difficult because there's a lot of straights after the start. So I need to try hold that position, and then I have the confidence that my pace will be good. So as long as I keep that first spot, I think I can win the race.
We'll see. All the best. Well done for now.
There you go, Oliver Goethe, our pole sitter. He will be at the front of the order. There'll be lots of drivers working their way from the back of the field after an interrupted qualifying session here today. Join us just before 4 o'clock for the first race of the weekend for Euroformula Open here at Spa.